My husband Gurmeet Singh was killed around 2 years after we were married. We were married in July 1982 in Birmingham, and in May 1984 he needed to return to Punjab to sort out a family land dispute. At the time I was around 6 months pregnant. We knew Punjab was not entirely safe, but there was no warnings from the UK Foreign Office that he should not travel. Had we known what was about to happen, he would have never left us. Why did the UK government let us down so badly? I still don't know exactly what happened, other than he left our village with 3 other relatives in early June to visit the Golden Temple. Gurmeet was accompanied by his cousin and his wife and their 8-year-old daughter. None of them returned from the Golden Temple. It has not been easy to come forward, as me and my daughter, who did not even see her father, have started a new life. Early on, it was very tough. I was distraught and always crying. I nearly lost my daughter, who was born premature. I was devastated and kept hoping Gurmeet would come back, but as the days became months and eventually years, I knew he was never coming home to us and to see his beautiful daughter for the first time. In the last few months, I've had to relieve the pain of 30 years ago. My daughter, like so many young British Sikhs, cannot understand why the UK government from 30 years ago sent an SAS officer to advise the Indian troops on how to attack the Golden Temple. Yes, the Golden Temple. That led to her father's death ultimately. Apparently, the SAS also offered to train Indian Army officers at their base in Hertfordshire. The public have a right to know exactly how and to what extent the UK was involved in the killing of innocent Sikhs, like my husband 30 years ago. The fact that some of the victims, who were British citizens, should mean UK politicians responsible should bow their heads down in shame. Did they not think this through? The fact that people like me have had to come forward and have been forced to go public shows the true face of the present coalition government, who needs to hold up its hands for the mistakes of the past, rather than just hope they will go away. They have been trying to brush this under the carpet and limit the damage of the revelations in January, but are in danger of making matters worse. I always thought more of UK politicians, but clearly the lives of innocent British Sikh citizens mean very little when compared to trade with India. Perhaps 30 years ago, the colour of your skin also meant you could be treated as second-class citizens. We will not let this happen today. Whilst we have had nice words and direct appeals on television by David Cameron, there has been no real empathy shown towards the Sikhs for what happened 30 years ago, and no condemnation of the massacre by the Indian Army. I believe the UK government of today have been dismissive of British Sikhs, and the Foreign Office have no respect for our views and feelings. As far as I'm concerned, the Sikh Federation have been the only organisation that have been truly challenging the government. It took about 8 weeks for the government to respond to concerns they raised at the start of February about the scope of the internal review, which itself only took 3 weeks. When the Federation suggested the Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary meet to discuss the need for an independent inquiry and meet British victims, they have turned a blind eye. So much for the promise of dialogue. I fear India is still using trade to blackmail the present UK government, and this will be far more important than the 750,000 Sikhs living in this country, unless people like me speak out. Who shall I hold responsible for killing my dear husband at the Golden Temple in June 1984? The person who pulled the trigger, or the UK government who advised about the attack and stayed silent knowing the Indian Army assault was about to take place and allowed him to travel to Punjab despite the risk, and is now desperately trying to stop the truth from emerging? The truth is, both must be held to account, but we must start with our own British government.